what are actually the beginnings of the flipped classroom approach? Where does the idea of a flipped classroom come from? Does it have roots in certain methodologies we practiced in the past? Does it have its beginnings in certain pedagogical approaches we had in the past? This is something we need to look at. Now, to be honest, any kind of an approach, any kind of a teaching methodology which puts students at the heart of it, which gives importance to the social component of it, which emphasizes active learning strategies, which would like to ensure the involvement of the learners fully into it, which promotes application of what they have learned, all such approaches will have a bit of a flip in it. So constructivism did have some elements of flip in it, right? And even Socratic seminars and dialogues had a kind of a flip element in it. So all these have incrementally contributed to the beginning, to the birth of what we call a flipped classroom. And even in our times, Khan's Academy was one non-profit organization which started pre-recording lectures and making it available freely to the students, suggesting that the students can watch these lectures freely from home, and then they can come to the class ready with the information, and as a result of which more productive use of the class time will be made possible. So Khan's Academy has contributed a lot to the idea, but in fact it was John Bergman and Aaron Sams, two high school chemistry teachers, who popularized the concept of the flipped classroom. It was with the publication of their book titled Flip Your Classroom, Reach Every Student in Every Class Every Day, that the idea began to spread far and wide and very fast. And the flipped classroom idea was popularized by their entry, and now we can say that lots of organizations and lots of teachers are actually trying to integrate a bit of a flip into their classes. It can be sometimes a partial flip. It can be flip of a part of a class. It can be a flipping of a part of a course. It can be a flipping of the whole of the programs. Or it can even be someone who is traditionally lecturing, but one flip would be attempted regarding one component of what they are doing. So if you trace the history of the flipped classroom, you can definitely argue that, as I said, lots of strategies which targeted active learning, social emphasis, application of learning, dynamic classrooms, active interaction among the learners, all these have incrementally, consistently contributed to the idea of the flipped classroom. But of course, with the arrival of technology and the revolution made possible by digital technology and the digital equipments, and the reach which is possible, and the pace with which the reach is possible today, that has put a lot of thrust into the popularization of the flipped classroom today. So even today, in the COVID scenario, when social isolation has come into force and communicating at a distance is become the norm for many of us, when students cannot come to the campus, many of us are very seriously trying to switch to the flipped classroom, which is understandable even though it has its limits, because when you are completely online, the face-to-face sessions in the classrooms become impossible. But the current social isolation, COVID caused social isolation, has significantly contributed to the popularity of the approach. And when we see the end of the COVID crisis and move to the other side of the so-called new normal we are talking about, I'm sure that we would move to a blended approach in which part of it would be online and part of our teaching would be face-to-face in the classroom. When that happens, the flipped classroom idea would definitely support us to have the best of both and to put the face-to-face time inside the classroom to the best use possible. Thank you.